Hello everyone, I am the Minute Kirby. Welcome to my channel, The Commander Tavern. The Commander Tavern is a channel dedicated to my favorite Magic the Gathering format. The Brewery is a series on this channel showcasing my spicy brews and other deck techs. On this episode of The Brewery, I'll be discussing my take on a commander from the Fallout crossover, Mr.House, President and CEO. If you like this deck or any of the cards I'll be mentioning throughout the video, please consider using my TCG Player affiliate link when purchasing those cards. You can find that link down in the description. It'll really help out the channel at no extra cost to you. But the very best way you can help support the channel is with my Patreon. There are plenty of perks for being a patron, such as early access to certain videos, exclusive deck techs, gifts, and more for as little as $1. You can also become a channel member for just 99 cents. Show off your support with a logo next to your name and exclusive emojis. Or you can always just support my channel for free by simply liking, subscribing, and sharing, which also helps out a lot. I put out a video every Monday, so you don't want to miss out. You can join my Discord server for free if you want to join the Commander Tavern community. All pertinent links are down in the description. Alright, let's head back to the episode. Mr.House is a 0/4 artifact creature human for 1 red, 1 white, and 1 black. He has a triggered ability that creates a 3/3 robot token when you roll a 4 or higher on a die, and a treasure if you roll a 6 or higher on a die. This ties in with his activated ability. For 4 generic and tapping, you roll 1d6. If you spent mana from a treasure to activate it, you roll an additional d6 per mana. So if you used 4 treasure for this ability, you roll 5d6. If you use 2 treasure, you roll 3d6, etc. Sacrificing treasures just to have the potential of getting more robots and treasures doesn't seem that enticing, especially since it's a 50-50 chance to get a robot per d6 rolled, and a 1 in 6 chance of getting a treasure back. However, since Mr.House counts every die rolled, this can extend beyond d6s into other such dice as d8s, d10s, d12s, and d20s. Obviously, with higher face polyhedra, you'll have a better chance of rolling a 6 or higher, especially a 4 or higher. To that end, these are all the die rolling effects in the deck. Clown Car, Attempted Murder, Contraband Livestock, Chaos Dragon, Component Pouch, Vexing Puzzle Box, Wiles Reversal, Comet Stellar Pup, and Quick Fixer. These are all amazing in their own ways, so let's start with the first one in the list. Clown Car isn't just pay X to roll X d6, the results will matter. You get artifact creature tokens as well as making the Clown Car larger, depending on the results of the dice. These are going to matter with the artifact synergies of the deck, which we'll see soon. And if any of those dice trigger Mr.House, we'll get even more robots and possible treasure. Attempted Murder and Contraband Livestock are synergistic interaction spells that have us roll dice. Yes, we could run better interaction, and the deck does, we'll see them soon, but we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. We get interaction and we get to roll dice. So these spells are a win-win here. Will's Reversal also provides a form of interaction in the form of redirecting the target of a spell or ability. If our die roll is high enough, we even have the potential of copying the redirected spell and choosing new targets for it. Chaos Dragon has us roll a die each time it'll attack. This means it's pretty much once per turn, but it's a 4/4 flyer with haste for just 3 mana. And we're rolling a d20 with it, which is much better for Mr.House anyways. Component Pouch and Vexing Puzzle Box are more once per turn type effects, but we tap them to roll a d20, which gives us a 75% chance of getting a robot and treasure with Mr.House, or an 85% chance of just getting a robot. They also function as mana rocks, which is great for a non-green deck like this one anyways. As a bonus, the puzzle box has the potential of tutoring for an artifact straight to the battlefield. It's a shame that Mad Science Fair project is disallowed in Commander solely because of the color of its border. This would have been yet another mana rock that could tap for mana while also having you roll a die. There's absolutely no reason why this card should remain illegal in Commander, but I digress. Comet Stellar Pup is another once per turn die rolling effect, but it's free and each outcome is great for us. This Legacy All-Star is also great here, especially if we manage to roll a 6, since we can then activate its loyalty ability twice more. Amazing. Quick Fixer doesn't have us roll a die per se, but since it opens an attraction whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you then roll a d6 to visit your attractions at the beginning of your first main step. That means like a roundabout way to roll a d6 on your turn, but having access to a separate deck of artifacts is great for this deck. These are the 10 attractions I'm running in the deck. The reason I'm running the least amount allowable is because there's only 1 card to open attractions, so we can take advantage of that and include the best ones for the deck. These attractions either create artifacts, disrupt opponents, draw us cards, etc. They're all useful, but most importantly, the numbers I chose are the best ones to probabilistically trigger as many times per turn as possible. We can use cards like Barbarian Class and Will Blade of Frontiers to re-roll dice that don't turn up how we'd want. There are more we can run, such as Quark's Other Thumb, but unfortunately you'd need permission to add this card to your deck. Why, you might ask? Why do you need to ask permission to run it even though it does the same exact thing as these other two cards? Well, because it's disallowed from the format solely because of the color of its border, but I digress. In any case, even if people refuse to let you play with Krark's Other Thumb because it's not in the legal card pool, you still have access to the other two. As for making the most of Mr. House's other abilities, we can always just make treasures to fuel his activated ability. The deck is running Glittering Stockpile, the absolute best mana rock for the deck apart from Vexing Puzzle Box. Since it's a treasure, tapping it for mana counts as being mana from a treasure, so you don't have to sacrifice it to pay for Mr. House's activated ability. Not only that, but it'll store more counters for when you want to sacrifice it later. Treasure Vault does something similar without taking up a slot in the deck. However, you have to sink mana into it in order to get half as many treasures out of it. That being said, once you're flooded and have nothing else to spend your mana on, you can get a ton of treasure, which the deck is going to want. Prosperous Partnership is another way to get treasure on command. All you have to do is tap 3 untapped creatures and you get a treasure at instant speed. It also creates 2 of those creatures when it enters the battlefield. The Reaver Cleaver, Goldspan Dragon, Decadent Dragon, and Grim Hireling also create treasures but depend on the combat phase to do so. You could also run Ancient Copper Dragon, which is one of the best cards for the deck, since you not only roll a d20, but also create that many treasure when dealing combat damage to an opponent with a 6/5 flyer for 6 mana. Unfortunately, this card is over $60 as of the making of this video, so it's understandable if you can't run it in your deck. At least you don't need it for the deck to function. While these cards depend on combat, they also do other things. For example, Grim Hireling can be used as interaction, and Decadent Dragon can be spent on an adventure to steal cards. Goldspan Dragon has our treasure sacrifice for 2 mana, which is amazing. Crime Novelist also somewhat doubles the mana we get from sacrificing treasures, but only because it adds 1 red mana each time we sacrifice an artifact. So it's not just from treasures, but things like clues, blood, food, etc. But realistically, it's mostly from treasures. If that weren't enough, it also gets a +1/+1 counter when it does, making it quite the beater. Zorn does something similar, but only if the result, since it doubles the amount of treasure we create, not necessarily in the mana output of our treasure. In and of itself, that's something we want the deck to do, since the deck's win cons and synergies care about how many artifacts we have, how many artifact tokens we're creating, losing, etc. Anointed Procession and Mondrak Glory Dominus also double the amount of treasure tokens we create. However, unlike Zorn, these also double any tokens we create, such as Mr. House's robots, the clown robots, etc. As a bonus, Mondrak can easily become indestructible here. We can also double the token output with Illusionist Bracers and Battle Mage's Bracers. If each of these are attached to Mr. House, then we can copy his activated ability. We have to pay an extra mana with Battle Mage's Bracers, but at least it gives him haste. In any case, doubling his activated ability helps us improve our odds at getting more robot tokens. Pitiless Plunderer, Revel in Riches, and Smothering Tithe also create treasure, but we're not entirely in control of when it happens. That being said, their triggers will happen more often than not. As a bonus, Revel in Riches also provides an alternate win con. If we control at least 10 treasures at the beginning of our upkeep, we win the game. Some players might find this as a cop-out, but this deck is incredibly erratic, albeit fun, since we're at the mercy of luck, quite literally. If you want, you can give your pot a choice. You can have either Revel in Riches or Krark's Other Thumb in your deck before the start of the game. Black Market Connections can also create a treasure token at the cost of 1 life at the beginning of our upkeep. However, it can also draw us a card for 2 extra life and a 3/2 Changeling Shapeshifter token for 3 extra life. Depending on the situation, creating the Changeling is good, but losing 3 life each turn for a treasure and extra card really adds up. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine is another way to get instant speed treasure tokens that we're in total control of. We pay 1 and tap it to create a food, but then we can sacrifice that food to get a treasure. This synergizes with the deck in multiple ways. While we're going to soon see the payoff for all this synergy, let's go over the deck's game-ending combo. Academy Manufacturer and Krark Clan Ironworks are the final pieces of the puzzle. Thanks to the Manufacturer, we create a food and a treasure and clue when we activate Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. Thanks to Krark Clan Ironworks, we can sacrifice the clue to add 2 colorless mana and the food to add 2 colorless mana. Doing so triggers the vending machine, getting us another food, clue, and treasure. This leaves us where we started. Each time we're generating infinite colorless mana and infinite treasures and clues. We're also getting infinite artifact ETB triggers as well as artifact destruction triggers. These matter for cards like Reckless Fireweaver, Agent of the Iron Throne, Ingenious Artillerist, Nadir's Nightblade, Mirkwood Bats, and Marionette Master. Once we have the combo online, we can pretty much do whatever we want, but with any of these cards out, we win the game. That being said, all of these cards are still amazing on their own because their damage will add up even when we're not going infinite. The deck is constantly creating and sacrificing artifact tokens, whether they're treasures, robots, or whatnot. The damage output adds up quickly, especially with multiples of these effects in play. Continuing along with the concept of death by 1,000 cuts, the deck can win all at once with either Revel in Riches or the 4-card infinite combo. However, the deck's still creating plenty of robot tokens, so sending a lot of them in combat also lowers your opponent's life totals. To that end, Vault of the Archangel and Steer Overseer help make those robots even more dangerous. Vault of the Archangel not only has us trade whatever blocks, but we also gain a ton of life too. Steel Overseer slowly but surely makes our artifact creatures bigger with the +1/+1 counter. Just make sure you don't forget about Mr.House, he's an artifact too. Inspiring Leader, Tempered Steel, and Illustrious Wanderglyph are static pumps for our artifact creature army. +2/+2 is nothing to scoff at, so having multiples of these effects in play is brutal. The Wanderglyph also has the added bonus of creating more artifact token creatures at the beginning of each upkeep, not just ours. And once we have the City's Blessing, only Karn's Ultimate will take that away from us. Thousand Moon Smithy is another way to create artifact creature tokens, albeit the best ones. These gnomes are better than Karn Structs because they also count creatures we control. If that weren't enough, it's incredibly easy to transform into Barracks of the Thousand. We use the mana from this legendary artifact land to cast a creature or artifact, we create another one of those superior constructs, which is amazing in a deck like this one. Rogue's Passage helps guarantee any of those beefy tokens get through to kill an opponent. And not just these, but any pumped up creature or even just quick fixer to guarantee opening an attraction. Inspiring Statuary is another card that cares about the deck having tons of artifacts since they can be tapped to help cast non-artifact spells. This way we can use treasures as mana rocks without having to sacrifice them, but in future turns sacrifice them if needed. Apart from the synergistic mana acceleration, card advantage, and interaction effects, decks still need tried and true non-synergistic cards for these roles. Minas Tirith and War Room provide card advantage without taking up slots in the deck. Minas Tirith requires sending creatures into combat, but with so many tokens that shouldn't be an issue. War Room has us lose 3 life though, so be careful. Call of the Ring and Phyrexian Arena are the other cards similar to Black Market Connections, but slightly weaker since all we do is draw a card. Call of the Ring, making one of our creatures a Ring Bearer, is useful in its own way, especially with creatures like Quick Fixer, which want to be able to get through to an opponent's face. Idol of Oblivion will essentially always draw us a card since we're constantly creating all types of tokens with this deck. Tapping it for free at instant speed for a card is nothing to scoff at. Tybalt's Trickery, Anguish Unmaking, Generous Gift, Stroke of Midnight, and Vindicate are the deck's single target interaction spells. People rarely expect Tybalt's Trickery but keep it up for spells like Farewell or an overloaded Vandal Blast. Speaking of, Vandal Blast, Their Name is Death, Blood Money, Ruinous Ultimatum, Blasphemous Act, and Organic Extinction are the deck's own board wipes. Their Name is Death, Ruinous Ultimatum, and Organic Extinction are amazing since they're essentially one-sided board wipes. Most of our deck's creatures are artifacts, so we'll be able to overwhelm the board that way. Blood Money might hit all of our creatures too, but at least we get a ton of treasure from it. Burrow's Charm, Teferi's Protection, and Clever Concealment help us deal with opponents' own board wipes, or even in response to our own, in order to protect our board. Since our board will be mostly tokens, something like Cyclonic Rift becomes a straight up board wipe against us. Best part of Clever Concealment is the potential of being cast for free. Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and Champion's Helm are the remaining protective effects and are used mostly for protecting our commander. The deck doesn't necessarily need Mr.House to run, but it's great at preventing needing to recast him multiple times in the game. Lurkery Tower, Thought Vessel, and Decanter of Endless Water provide us with a limitless hand size, but the mana rocks help us accelerate mana. At the end of the day, non-green decks need to do what they can. The deck creates so many treasure that we're not so stressed for mana either, with Soul Ring being the final mana rock of the deck for obvious reasons. It is what it is. The rest of the deck is just the rest of the lands. Apart from all of the previously mentioned lands, the deck's running all 9 fetch lands, all 3 shock lands, all 3 surveil lands, all 3 snow duels, Savai Triome, Reflecting Pool, Command Tower, and Ancient Tune, as well as 2 of each basic land, because you shouldn't be playing commander decks without basic lands. As with all of my deck techs, you can build your mana base according to your budget. Whether you include more expensive cards or even cheaper cards is up to you. You do you. This brew is just an idea of how to build around Mr.House. What's fun to me about this deck is the inevitability of luck affecting your game. Sure, there are ways to create artifact creature tokens and treasures without luck-based effects, but if you're lucky, your game's even better. And that's fun for me. If you're watching this video, then it's because it's also fun for you. If you're interested in the deck list of this spicy brew of mine, you can find a link to it down in the description. I would like to thank all my patrons for supporting me, and a quick shout out to all my higher tier patrons, the brewers, for their patronage. I'd also like to thank anyone using my TCG Player affiliate link. That also helps out the channel. I want to thank any channel members. Your membership is greatly appreciated. And to everyone, thanks for watching this episode of The Brewery on the Commander Tavern. I am the Man at Kirby, and happy brewing.